Hello and welcome. Tonight, after 3 days of protests across the country, President Bola Tinubu is set to address Nigerians at 7 in the morning tomorrow. Police storm approved venue for protesters in FCT, fire tear gas to disperse the gathering at the Moshood Abiola Stadium in Abuja. Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, Mr. Atiku Bagudu, clarifies removal of fuel subsidy, describes decision as a necessary step to stabilize the nation's economy. And at least 32 people killed in a suicide attack carried out by Al-Shabaab militants at a popular beachfront location in the Somalian capital.
On business news, Nigeria's FX reserves rise to $36.8 billion, reach highest level since February 2023.
President Bola Tinubu will address the nation in a broadcast tomorrow, Sunday, August the 4th at 7 a.m. The special advisor to the president on media and publicity, Ajuri Ngalali, made this known in a statement today titled President Tinubu to Address the Nation. He asked television, radio and other electronic media outlets to join the network services of the Nigerian Television Authority and the Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria for the broadcast. Protesters have continued to hit the streets in the nation's capital, Abuja, Lagos, Oyo, and other states as they call for the reversal of fuel subsidy removal, reduction in the skyrocketing price of goods and services in the country, amongst other demands. The End Bad Governance protest has, however, been marred with looting by hoodlums in Kano and other northern regional states, with the police going after the culprits to recover some items. In the nation's capital, police fired tear gas on protesters at the Moshood Abiola Stadium, Abuja, to disperse them from the facility. However, the police did not give any reason for chasing the protesters from the gate of the stadium in the nation's capital.
It's day 3 of the End Hardship and Bad Governance protest in Abuja, and a small size of protesters gather in front of the Moshood Abiola Stadium, where they have been converging since Thursday when the demonstration started. Like the first 2 days of the protest, security officials are visibly present at the venue as the protesters reiterate their demands.
The insecurity in the nation is alarming. The inflation in the nation is alarming. The subsidy removal did Nigerians no good. You are talking to us that we should go to the farm. Is our security guaranteed?
Why did the president of Nigeria, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, from day one, remove subsidy? Why did he float the naira? All of this we need to ask questions, and the president needs to come out and tell us who he's working for. Is he working for the Nigerian people, or is he working against the interests of the Nigerian people? Why did he, from day one, implement those policies of the IMF and the World Bank? This is not just happening in Nigeria. This is a problem happening in Africa and in the global south because America, the IMF, the World Bank are targeting countries like Nigeria to weaken our economies because they can't compete with China.
We were at Bush yesterday.
Others speak on their determination to continue with the demonstration, despite appeals from the government and some religious clerics.
It is unacceptable to vacate the street without demands being met. So please, to our fathers, we want you to come on Monday. We'll have a sit-out with you. The government have not said anything 72 hours since our protest. We understand he's trying to reach out to different channels. It won't take him anything to make a State of the Nation address.
However, just about 2 hours into the day's protest, security operatives comprising the police, army, and the Security and Civil Defense Corps arrive and fired several canisters of tear gas to disperse the protesters. The police chased the protesters, attempting to arrest some of them. This is the first time that the police is dispersing protesters from the Moshood Abiola Stadium since the protest started on Thursday. The other situation were outside the premises of the stadium.
Adamawa and Plateau are among the states that recorded the third day of protests in northern Nigeria. However, no incident was recorded during the demonstration as normalcy returned to parts of the northern region. While Borno State reviewed its curfew, the Taraba State government is taking steps to avert any breakdown of law and order.
Governor Abu Kefas of Taraba State leads members of the state executive to inspect the situation room set up by the state government in collaboration with security agencies to monitor events in the state. The state did not record any violence during the nationwide protests, but the governor is not leaving anything to chance.
From the operation room, you can see that they were prepared for this very situation. So I think by the grace of God, all these things will be over. If we start well today and we're able to talk to ourselves, which we'll continue to, and we're on it, I don't think anything will go wrong in the state.
In Adamawa, there were counter-protests as both groups converge on Unity Bridge interchange in Yola, the state capital. They bear placards indicating their message. However, the presence of security operatives prevented the situation from escalating.
It will take some time for things to correct themselves. It's not, these problems didn't start overnight. So it will take time to correct. But with our cooperation, all of us, we are bearing with each other. We are understanding what is happening. I think we can solve the vast majority of the problems. If not all, at least the vast majority in a short period.
Borno State witnessed some violence on the first day of the protest, and the state governor imposed curfew across the state. But when calm returned to the state, Governor Babagana Zulum reviewed the curfew. Normalcy has also returned to Niger State. The police, however, dismissed reports on the fatality in the state, though there were incidences of vandalism in Tafa local government area of the state.
I led my men to clear some of the blockades on the highway between Suleja and Tafa on both ways, and no report was received by me or any of my stations in Suleja to indicate that somebody was injured or dead. I met with also the two local government chairmen, the council chairman of Suleja and the council chairman of Tafa, who appreciated efforts of the security agencies and who also did not confirm to me or report any incident of death.
In Jos, the Plateau State capital, the protesters continue with their demands when they gathered at the old airport roundabout. Although there is no record of violence in the state, security is reinforced around public facilities. Nevertheless, the protesters resolved to continue with the agitation for improved standard of living as well as good governance.
In Nasarawa State, the dusk till dawn curfew imposed on Kefi local government area by the chairman, Baba Shehu, following the violent aftermath of the protest, has been lifted. In a statement from the office of the local government council chairman, revealed that the curfew was lifted after consultation with security agencies who assured them that there was no cause for alarm. The council assured residents that security personnel will be vigilant and monitor the areas for any suspicious movement or incident. More protests from the northern region, and the Jigawa state government is set to lift the 24-hour curfew imposed on the state following the End Bad Governance protest that turned violent. The State Commissioner for Information, Sagir Musa, disclosed this at the Government House, stating that the decision was taken as the state returned to normalcy. Meanwhile, the police have arrested over 200 suspected looters and recovered stolen items, even as security agencies continue to enforce the curfew in Kano State.
Kano and Jigawa states are among the states where a 24-hour curfew was imposed after the End Bad Governance protest turned violent. In Kano State, many businesses and government buildings were ransacked, leading the state government to declare curfew. Roads remain almost empty as security personnel continue to enforce the curfew. However, in Jigawa State, over 200 suspects were arrested and many stolen items were recovered by the police.
212 suspects have so far been arrested. Out of them, 74 have been charged to court. We have recoveries of 50 motorcycles, 3 tricycles, 12 bicycles, 303 bags of fertilizers, 9 chairs, 54 cartons of mosquito nets, rice, 7 bags of rice, and office furniture.
Also, the Commissioner of Information spoke on the situation, including the 24-hour curfew following the success recorded by the police. The Jigawa State government urges citizens to remain calm as normalcy is gradually being restored. Sadiq Ilyasu, Channels Television News.
Down south, the Lagos State government says it's unaware or it's not unaware of the hardship people are going through and is ramping up efforts. The Secretary to the Lagos State government, Mrs. Abimbola Saluhundeyin, thanked the protesters for maintaining peaceful demonstrations as she reiterates the government's commitment to bettering the lives of residents.
I must thank the protesters. They've been very, very wonderful. I'm really proud of them. They have not destroyed anything. So we are grateful. We've been talking to those we could reach before now, and even now we're still dialoguing with them. Every point they have noted, we have also noted that they have raised. I want to let them also know, the protesters, that they've spoken and their voice is loud and clear. We heard them. And in Lagos State, I would say a lot of things they're asking for, we had started doing them before now. Let me give an example. They're talking about the minimum wage. Since January this year, Lagos State has been paying over the minimum wage.
They are asking for 250.
We have been paying 77 million wage.
77,000, you mean?
Yes. Anything that will bring succor and better livability to the citizens. Mr. Governor is impassioned about it and is committed to doing that. You know, also we have 25% discount on all public transport system. There's a 25% discount. And we had to talk to these so-called area boys, the good boys of Lagos State. That's how we couch them now. Because the name matters. When you call them the good boys, they try to be good as well. We're also talking to them in so many other areas, even in this one you're talking about. When I was talking about the tomatoes being produced in Badagry, we're aware that even bringing them into Lagos would also face this kind of challenges. And it's part of the things we are trying to do to ensure that these people are not overburdened. Because I could call it their own taxes. These good boys you're talking about. We're also trying to ensure that we eliminate as much of their influence as possible. And that's why we hold regular meetings with the NUCLW and all their various associations to let them know that Lagos is for everybody. This is a city that there is no single Nigerian today that does not, if he has not been to Lagos, either has a relation in Lagos or he has heard about Lagos or he knows somebody going to Lagos. So we know that being this kind of city, which is a potpourri of Nigeria, we need to have policies that will make everybody comfortable.
In part 2 after the break, Minister of Budget and Economic Planning Atiku Bagudu defends removal of fuel subsidy, says exercise is necessary to stabilize the nation's economy. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. After 3 days of protests across the country, President Bola Tinubu is set to address Nigerians at 7 in the morning tomorrow. Police storm approved venue for protesters in FCT, fire tear gas to disperse the gathering at the Moshood Abiola Stadium in Abuja. Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, Atiku Bagudu, clarifies removal of fuel subsidy, describes decision as a necessary step to stabilize the nation's economy. And at least 32 people killed in a suicide attack carried out by Al-Shabaab militants at a popular beachfront location in the Somalian capital. Now, the nationwide protest continued at Ojota in Lagos, and demonstrators turned up to participate as they sang and danced carrying placards of different inscriptions. While the protest continued, there was an attempt by the demonstrators to block the K2 to Ojota axis of Ikorodu Road, which was averted as the police officers were seen clearing the road for vehicular traffic. Our correspondent Kelly Egiga reports.
It's another day of demonstrations in the Ojota area here in Lagos, and those protesting against what they describe as bad governance appear not to have lost their steam. The protesters later moved to the Ojota bus stop area in an attempt to head towards Maryland, despite a court order confining them to the Gani Fawahimi Freedom Park and Peace Park just across the road. Some of the demonstrators speak about some of the issues that fueled the protest.
They don't want to be confined to one place. In fact, they will be agitating that they want to move. But we tell them, let them calm down. It's not all about the movement. It's not all about scattering all over the street. It's all about pushing our agendas to the government. And let the media hear us and report fairly on what is going on in this country. The people you are seeing here, they are not miscreants. If we allow them here, what you see them do, because they are angry, it will shock you. You understand? So, the law have restricted them. They are law-abiding citizens. So they are keeping by the rules of this protest. That is why you see them here expressing themselves peacefully.
We are asking the president to take care of all those who have taken our resources away. Let them bring it back. And we use it to provide education, provide housing, provide transport, and health for the citizens. If many are taken care of, the few that are criminals will be easy to catch.
Others express disappointment and blame the government for the untold hardship Nigerians are currently experiencing.
Please, I want the government to let the price settle down. Please, I want all our economy to be more valued than ordinary country. At least in Africa, you can put us from number 1 to number 5. Nigeria, we have food, resources, mineral. In north, in south, in east, especially this Lagos, we have petroleum also in this Lagos. I'm appreciative of that, but I'm not happy of what is going on.
Protests have to be, a situation whereby people can have freedom of movement, freedom of speech. Do you understand? As long as we're doing it under the ambience of the Constitution. Okay, so I'm not really comfortable with the, confinement here.
The protest is like 10 days, and we are not stopping. There is nothing like break. If you were to meet with Mr. President, what's the message to Mr. President? Very simple. Reverse the fuel price.
Meet our demands.
All the demands, don't meet her. He can do it now. He's the number one citizen. Do you know if the president just stand up and say, okay, guys, this is it. And all our demands, he meet her, I forget.
And our demands,
I'm telling you. We love him. We love him. He's our daddy.
These protesters are hoping that after 3 days of demonstrations, the government will go beyond promises and address the demands of Nigerians. Kelly Egiga, Channels Television News.
The Nigeria police has released an official record of protest incidences with a warning against the spread of unverified figures and misinformation as the force counter Amnesty International's claims. Now, the police public relations officer, Olumiyiwa Adejobi, says the Nigeria police finds it necessary to refute a recent report published by the Amnesty International, which claims that 13 individuals lost their lives due to the protests in Nigeria that began on August the 1st. In this report, Amnesty International alleges that security personnel deliberately employed tactics designed to kill while managing gatherings and used firearms as a tactical tool for protest management.
The Nigeria Police Force finds it necessary to refute a recent report publicized by Amnesty International, which claims that 13 individuals have lost their lives due to the protests in Nigeria that began on 1st August 2024. Amnesty International further alleges that security personnel deliberately employed tactics designed to kill while managing gatherings and use firearms as a tactical tool for protest management. The Nigeria Police Force wishes to provide an accurate account of incidents from the first 2 days of the nationwide protest. In Borno State, 4 individuals lost their lives and 34 were severely injured in a terrorist attack by suspected Boko Haram and ISWAP elements who infiltrated the crowd of protesters and detonated an improvised explosive device IED. Additionally, an incident occurred involving an unregistered under-prelude car that ran into the protesters, resulting in the death of 2 civilians in Nasarawa State. There was another incident reported in Yauri local government area of Kebbi State, where a group of individuals mobilized to loot a shop. In the process, a local vigilante man shot and killed one of the looters. The Commissioner of Police in charge of Kebbi State is currently investigating the incident. This brings the total number of deaths recorded during the protest to 7. It is important to state that there were no other recorded fatalities during the protest apart from those mentioned above.
As the nationwide protest enters day 3, traders and buyers in local markets within the Port Harcourt metropolis continue to express their displeasure over the hike in food prices due to increased transportation costs. They made this observation while speaking with our correspondent Deborah Agbalama, who reports on the protest's impact and events in River State.
It's day 3 of the nationwide protest, and Port Harcourt is not left out as protesters trooped out in their numbers. Protesters wave green leaves, symbolizing peace as they march through different parts of the city with heavy security presence.
I need to make my mother proud. My mom, I'm the only hope my mother has. People should make it easy for me. I need to make that woman proud. I never go to school, I don't feel pay school fees. No capital to start business. Our youths are going astray.
We're not asking for much. While they are there enjoying, we are here suffering. Today, if they are demanding on me, this project will take more than 10 days. We are ready. We're not going back. We're not backing down.
It's been 3 days since the commencement of this protest, so we visited some places in Port Harcourt to assess its impact on the city's socio-economic life. Our first port of call is the markets, where buying and selling continue normally. However, traders say there has been a hike in the prices of foodstuffs and other items since the protest began.
Things have not come down. Things are so high. Transport, everything is so high. We cannot even buy food to eat. Ordinary okra now is 48,000 naira, one bag of okra. Almost 50,000, one bag of okra. Things are so expensive. You have not noticed any? We have nothing. We have not seen anything. Everything is too high for us.
Despite this increase, both buyers and sellers support the protest.
We can no more bear it anymore. Look at the cost of things in the market. Come to the market like this, with our whole salary, we can't even buy a pot of soup.
The high point of today's protest was when protesters obstructed Governor Fubara's convoy as he passed through their route, and the wave of the hand from him allowed his passage.
It's been really a whole lot of energy today. You can see for yourself from the background, this crowd is very resolute to send their message. What I've noticed is even those of them who are not joining the protest, who are just observing from the corner, all have one message. They are in support of this protest and they want a change of what they call bad governance. From Port Harcourt, the Rivers State capital, Deborah Balama.
Channels Television News.
Still ahead on the news at 10. Nigeria's FX reserves rise to $36.8 billion, reaches highest level since February 2023. That's on Business News. Please join us again. Welcome back. We're still in Rivers State, and Governor Siminalayi Fubara has called for patience and cooperation from citizens to support President Bola Tinubu and the state government in building a prosperous nation. Governor Fubara made this appeal in Kono, that's in Kana local government area, during the funeral of Mrs. Nyangete Yobana of Marvin Yobana, the caretaker committee chairman of the area.
We are in a trying time, but we need to work together to make sure that we build that Nigeria, that River State of our dream. I've said it, and I'm saying it again. I will not live without making a positive impact in the life of our state. No matter the distraction, our eyes are on the ball. We will not play with the education of our children. We will not joke with quality health care, and we will make sure that we invest heavily in food production in our states. Please, everybody should learn to be patient and peaceful. Learn to be patient and peaceful. It gets bad before it gets better. We are at the point of that breakthrough to a wonderful state and the envy of a country. When I say envy of a country, if we pass through this stage, Nigeria will be great.
Bayelsa State Governor Doye Diri met with the youth under the aegis of the movement to understand their demands and offer solutions in the bid to maintain peace in Bayelsa, which has not been actively participating in the nationwide End Bad Governance protests. The youth met with the governor at the Bayelsa State Government House to reassure him that they are not criminals. The meeting followed the governor's earlier call for the youth in the state to refrain from joining the August 1st nationwide protest due to concerns that the mass action might have political undertone.
I've engaged personally with the Commissioner for Youths, the students' leadership. We have engaged the Ijaw Youth leadership. And these are major blocks in our state. We have engaged the Nigerian Youth Leadership Bayelsa chapter and several other bodies. And so when they said there were still protesters, because all of these people have agreed to dialogue rather than protests. And I was informed that some people came out on the 1st of August, and I'm sure you may be the people. And last night, after his report, it became very clear that those that they call Yahoo boys are actually not Yahoo boys. And today you have made that point very clearly, that you are not Yahoo boys, neither are you criminals. And so I will also want to thank you for listening to government. Because initially the reports I received were that you were not ready for dialogue. But when the commissioner came and others in my system came, they said that was not true, that they actually wanted to meet with you. And I said, why not? If the youths of the state wants to meet with me, I'm available to meet with them.
The Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, Mr. Atiku Bagudu, says the removal of fuel subsidy, although a painful decision, was a necessary choice for the government in its bid to stabilize the economy. Mr. Bagudu made the remark while speaking on Channels Television's special coverage of the nationwide protest in Abuja. He notes that government is not blind to the demands and needs of citizens and cautioned that the protests are capable of influencing decisions of potential investors in the nation's economy.
Consistent with what many people thought, including all political parties, like, look, sometimes we need to confront the hard truth. We want to be somewhere by a particular time, and therefore we have to take measures which may have some temporary pain, but which will eventually yield to. But in doing so, you are confronting many people. You are confronting the subsidy lobbies themselves, who have for years maybe benefited from this subsidy, so they can instigate a populace. Secondly, you linked it to food insecurity. The food challenge is not necessarily a function of the fuel subsidy removal. We have a war going on between the two largest exporters of agri-produce in the world, Russia and Ukraine. Fertilizer prices have gone up. We have lost traction about food production. We didn't quite recover from COVID. We had flooding that followed COVID. We had a transition year. We have currency redesign that even affects farmers' ability or producers' ability to find money and do farming. And the input challenge, that despite a number of interventions to support the farming populace, but like I said, because there is a lag, so sometimes the benefit, especially as we know, when you plant, you need to wait for a harvest. And compounded by the fact that other West African countries are not taking similar measures that we are taking. So our food prices were even cheaper than the surrounding countries. So they buy from us, putting further pressure on us. So was that the right decision for the president take at the time he took it? Yes, I believe so. Can it be better? That's why I say it's not a monologue, it's a dialogue.
Senator Adams Oshiomhole is asking the federal government to prioritize re-strategizing its policies to address the economic challenges in the country to bring the nation out of poverty. Now, Senator Oshiomhole made the remark when he appeared as a guest on Channels Television's special coverage of the nationwide protest in Abuja. Now, the former Edo State governor believes it is the constitutional right of every Nigerian to protest, but cautioned against the protest being infiltrated by unscrupulous persons.
Need to impose more control on the banking system to truly do proper banking. Now, this is the only country where banks don't lend, they pick deposit, they just patronize the forest, but that is now, hopefully, with the new policy of the CBN, which, as I said, I agree with totally, things will come to change. I also believe that the president will have to encourage the Minister of Industry to invite, for example, major car manufacturing. There are things we don't need to reinvent, we just need to revert back to where we are coming from. To policies that says, you want to sell motor vehicles in Lagos, Mr. Volkswagen, it was then popular in Nigeria, they located in somewhere in Lagos. Mr. Pujo was 404, 405, GL 505, relocate to Nigeria to take advantage of Nigeria market. I would like to see, going forward, a new industrial policy, but we say to Toyota, you are now the new darlings of Nigerians. We are the largest Toyota consuming country in Africa.
From Benin City, the civil society group that staged the End Bad Governance demonstration at the Ring Road in the Edo State capital have announced that they have stepped down from the demonstration. This was disclosed during a press briefing in Benin City when they submitted that they believe that they have made their demands to the federal and state governments and they are going to keep tabs on the authorities going forward to see how they respond to the demands of Nigerians. They insist they are not asking anyone to stop protesting and asking the government the critical questions, as it is the right of anyone to demonstrate when they are not happy about the state of the nation.
We want to appeal to the conscience of our citizens that we have been able to state our demands before the government. So at this junction, because of intelligence reports and the task is overwhelming. For these reasons, we are withdrawing. The civil society organizations is withdrawing from the protest to re-strategize. And that is not to say that Nigerians who still wish to continue to express themselves is not at liberty to do so. But I want to appeal that since we have been able to sustain it for 3 days without bloodshed, without destruction of property, we have achieved a lot. Yes. And we have stated our demand clearly. Henceforth, we are going to press forth to ensure that both the state government and the federal government meet up with the demands of Edo State citizens.
In Anambra State, Governor Chukwuma Soludo has launched the Anambra Farm to Feed campaign initiative as part of measures to chase hunger out of the land. Distributing various seedlings to the people at a farmland in Amansi, Ndukwenu axis of the state, the governor says agriculture should be the new national pride, noting that if families can produce enough of one thing to cater for one day in a year, then the pressure of food prices in the market will drastically drop.
The fanfare and excitement at a farmland at Amansi in Ndukwenu axis is high, as the governor of Anambra State, Professor Chukwuma Soludo, in the company of his wife, Mrs. Nonyes Soludo, arrived to kickstart a revolution that, according to him, will be the pride of the nation. It is the launch of Anambra Farm to Feed campaign, and everyone is tasked with starting a form of subsistence farming tagged backyard or homestead farming as part of citizens' action against hunger. Some of the government appointees give testimonies on the benefits of homestead farming.
At the moment, I have about 3,000 palm seedlings, 1,000 oranges, 1,000 pawpaw, and the rest of them, just across Amansi Bridge. But as commissioner, I lived in commissioner's quarters, and at some point, every food I ate in the house, that house was actually produced within that place. I had fish ponds, I had poultry, I had cassava, I had okra, I had inine, I had mbolodi, I had nshonwu, I had all of these things.
Mine is that I started with subsistence farming. I farmed last year, even though the land wasn't so big, but I harvested my cassava this year. And right now, I am feeding 10 families out of my harvest with gari. 10 families are feeding from the gari that I made from my farm.
Students of the Agric Engineering Department from the Nnamdi Azikiwe University, Awka, demonstrate the use of GP irrigation technology in agriculture.
You can use to puncture, maybe can use nail and puncture it, it will be dripping. Gradually, I can last up to 4 days.
Governor Soludo commends the people for shunning the nationwide protest and deciding to be part of the solution to build a greater Anambra.
They are not protesting not because they don't feel the pain, but because I want to be part of the solution. As youth are saying, it is good to complain, good to protest, but better to do something. That's what our youths are saying. And I want to commend you.
Launching the initiative, the governor says agriculture should be the new national pride.
Let's turn farming, agriculture as a new national pride. Operation Farm, Operation Show Your Farm, Operation Show What You Cultivate. So the next time somebody says there is hunger in the land, my response is, yes, I agree. But what are you doing about it?
The governor performs a symbolic seed planting alongside his wife. They also distribute seedlings to the people to begin to take action. The governor also launched the Operation Leave No Vacant Space campaign, geared towards encouraging everyone to utilize every space in their compounds.
In Oyo State, Governor Seyi Makinde has asked the newly recruited officers of the Oyo State Road Traffic Management Authority to contribute their quota to the development of the state through diligent and dedicated service. The governor encouraged the officers not to misplace their priorities or focus on enriching themselves unjustly.
The head of service Chief.
This is an opportunity to serve. It is not an avenue to act unjustly or enrich yourself. As you have succeeded, I'm urging you to contribute your own quota to the development of Oyo State by doing your work diligently. So on our part as an administration, to Whitema, we will continue to prioritize your welfare. Just as we have always done for all our workers since we assumed office in 2019. You asked for hazard allowance, and I agree with you. The work we've asked you to do is fraught with a lot of hazards. So your hazard allowance is approved.
Time now for some business news with Will Ibom. Will.
Thank you, Ayotunde. Nigeria's FX reserves has reached its highest point since February 2023 as the gross reserve level increased by $290.77 million week on week to $36.8 billion. Analysts believe FX liquidity remained tight this week following a muted intervention from the CBN, which underpinned increased pressure on the Naira. However, following the CBN's intention to resume a retail sale Dutch auction on August the 7th, analysts anticipate an improvement in FX liquidity, which could reduce the volatility in the Naira in the short term. Meanwhile, forex market trading activity at the FMDQ closed negative this week as the total turnover of transactions carried out at the FX spot, forwards and futures markets fell by 16.52% to close at $1.09 billion. A further breakdown shows total value of transactions at FX spot market dropped by 16.8% to $1.08 billion, while transactions at the FX derivatives market were muted this week. Also, the value of the Naira dipped by 1.62% to 1,610 Naira 56 kobo against the dollar at the official NAFEX window. Now, as the buzz about environment, social and governance compliance heats up, some companies in Nigeria have commenced reporting as investors assess organizations' business practices and performance. It is for this reason the Financial Institutions Training Center, FITC, is ready to key into this with the creation of an ESG institute to guide companies in aligning with global sustainability standards and supporting the Central Bank of Nigeria's sustainability goals. According to the Deputy Governor of Financial System Stability at the Central Bank of Nigeria, Mr. Philip Ikeazo, represented by Mr. Nwabueze Ojako, Nigerian banks are more conscious of ESG compliance and meeting international standards of reporting.
Helps. In the last 11 years of adopting and implementing sustainable banking principles, Nigerian banks have worked to ensure that they conduct their businesses mindful of their positive and negative impacts on the society and the environment. Our commitment to sustainable banking has been to promote market-driven sustainable business models that would enhance the competitiveness, resilience, equitability, and the equitability of the Nigerian economy.
ESG is the future, and the future is in our hands. Everyone's got a role to play in promoting sustainability, contributing to preserving the society that we live in, preserving our environment, and building solid institutions so that there is prosperity for everyone. And in Nigeria, like everywhere else in the world, there is the need for every organization, businesses, even government, to consistently make contributions to the ESG principles. And these practices are what will make the world a better place to live. Organizations are in different phases, both in terms of understanding, adoption, and execution.
Well, let's check in on the performance of the domestic equities market, which continued a bearish sentiment as profit-taking activities on MTN Nigeria and Nestle drove the all-share index lower by 0.46% to 97,745 points. Year-to-date returns settled at 30.7%. And looking at the activity charts, the total traded volume declined by 4.3%, while the total traded value increased by 11.3%. Week on week. Now, across the sectors, consumer goods, banking, industrial indices posted losses, while the oil and gas and insurance indexes recorded gains. RT Briscoe topped the gainers chart for the week, while United Capital, that's UCAP, led the losers chart due to profit-taking. And the trio of Fidelity Bank, UBA, and Zenith Bank top trades by volume. And that's a wrap on business news. It's back to Ayotunde for the rest of the news at 10.
Now let's move on. At least 32 people are dead and several others injured after a suicide bomber and gunmen targeted a popular beachfront location in the Somali capital of Mogadishu. According to local media, the attack, which took place late on Friday, was carried out by Al-Shabaab militants who control large parts of southern and central Somalia. The group is affiliated to Al-Qaeda and has waged a brutal insurgency for nearly 20 years against the UN-backed government in Somalia. The Iran Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, said Hamas political chief Ismail Haniyeh was killed with a short-range projectile fired from outside his guest house in Tehran. The paramilitary organization said the projectile weighed about 7 kilograms and caused a strong blast, killing Haniyeh and his bodyguard last Wednesday. Mr. Haniyeh had been visiting the Iranian capital for the inauguration of President Masoud Pezeshkian. The IRGC accused Israel of designing and implementing the operation supported by the U.S., but Israel has not commented on Haniyeh's death. And the main news again. President Bola Tinubu is set to address the nation tomorrow, August the 4th, at 7 a.m., after 3 days of protests across the country. The president's address is expected to focus on addressing the demands of the End Bad Governance protesters who are demanding the reversal of the electricity tariff as well as the fuel subsidy. That's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Ayotunde Balogun. From all of us here, please have a good night and stay safe.